Hello and welcome back to Mexico News Network's Breaking News. Remember, keep informed 24/7 by logging on to our website on www.mexiconewsnetwork.com, and don't forget to follow us on social networks on Facebook, Google+, and Twitter. You will find us as Mexico News Network. Now let's continue with more incredible information. Mexican scientist Gabriela Caraveo Piso may be close to finding the cure for Parkinson's disease by discovering how calcium as an intracellular messenger has the potential of becoming lethal in large concentrations. The next step is to conduct test trials on humans which could possibly lead to a cure for this neurological disease. A biology graduate from the National Autonomous University of Mexico and a researcher at the Whitehead Institute for Biomedical Research in Cambridge, Massachusetts, Dr. Caraveo managed to identify a way to reduce the toxicity resulting from excessive production of the enzyme calcineurin. Parkinson's is characterized by the unfolding of the alpha-synuclein protein, which is the folding of proteins in the process when the protein structure assumes its functional shape. This then leads to a series of events, starting with the increase of intracellular calcium, leading to overactivation of the enzyme calcineurin. At the same time, this process removes phosphate, which is a chemical that functions in intracellular communication paths, altering this way normal functioning and killing all cells. In an effort to root out this problem, Dr. Caraveo discovered that by lowering the activation levels of calcineurin without fully eliminating it, cells can in fact survive. By altering the natural process, contact is avoided with the nuclear factor of activated T cells, NFAT protein, redirecting communication to the cytoskeleton, which is the internal cell support. This way preventing failure of motor functions and ultimately decreasing the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. Now, in order to achieve these results, tacrolimus, which is a drug usually prescribed to transplant patients, had to be used. It is an immunosuppressant capable of reducing the activation of calcineurin in the brain and effectively reducing the toxic symptoms of the entire disease. The exact dosage still needs to be adjusted, as human tests have yet to be conducted. If the results remain constant, Dr. Caraveo may be very well responsible for curing a disease that kills over 100,000 patients a year. Now, in more information, 30-year-old Valery Spirandov from Russia is hoping to overcome a degenerative disease by literally changing bodies from the head down, as it is currently impossible for him to support his very own skeleton. The plan would involve Italian neurosurgeon Dr. Sergio Canavero making a complete head transplant to a healthy body in order to possibly extend his life. Valery Spirandov was diagnosed with Werding-Hoffmann disease, a very rare genetic condition which prevents muscles from growing from the patient's first year of life onward. Around 50% of people diagnosed with this disease have a life expectancy of 1 year. Spirandov, however, is now 30 years old and has opted for this drastic and innovative form of surgery. The medical community has responded very skeptical to this procedure. Mexican neurosurgeon and spine surgeon Teodulo Valenzuela Hernandez explained that even today it is still science fiction to think a head transplant could be a possibility, as the spinal cord is a very, very complex body part. Dissecting it is on its very own an irreversible injury. It will also involve having to reconnect the trachea, esophagus, nerves, and arteries. Amid the controversy, Spirandov is going through with the operation, which could be carried out in 2017. For him, this is one of the few choices he has left, so his decision is definitive. This technology is very similar to the first man to walk on space, stated Spirandov to RT. And he expects in the future it will help thousands of people who are in an even more deplorable state than he currently is in. Now in other news, 18 years ago, a group of astronomers led by Mexican researchers from the National Autonomous University of Mexico started to observe a tiny point of light known as W75NB/VLA2, located in a far, far away region of the universe, without knowing that they were in fact observing the birth of a brand new star. Using images from the National Science Foundation's Carl G. Jansky Very Large Array, VLA, Carlos Carrasco Gonzalez, Jorge Canto and his entire team started to document this young star from 1996, when this point, 4,200 light years from Earth, was just a compact region of a hot ionized wind. Comparing images from that time to today in 2015, scientists realized that the ejected wing of the first years turned into a distinctly elongated outflow, which then led the team to believe that the young star has been forming a gaseous environment that currently in a state of constant expansion, mainly in opposite directions, forming a spherical shell around the entire star. W75NB/VLA2 has been growing up rather quickly, approximately 30 kilometers per second, or 100,000 kilometers per hour. It is in fact 8 times bigger than the Sun. Carrasco and Gonzalez said to the Astronomy magazine that they are seeing this dramatic change in real time. So this object is providing them with an exciting opportunity to watch over the next few years as a very young star goes through the early stages of its formation. The resulting research will shed light onto other theoretical models about expansion and growth of Sun-like stars. Also working on this study are researchers from as far as Spain, Holland, Sweden, South Korea, and Japan. Now, after 10 years of research, archaeologists have stumbled upon an unexpected clue to one of the biggest discoveries ever made at the archaeological site of Teotihuacan. Some months ago, Mexico News Network covered the discovery of a 100 meters long tunnel under the Pyramid of the Feathered Serpent. Ever since then, researchers have recently found very large quantities of liquid mercury right there in the archaeological site. It is believed that the mercury had been placed there on purpose. In fact, this metal has been found at 3 other archaeological sites, mostly of the Mayan culture. Researchers believe that it may have held ritual significance, perhaps to symbolize some sort of river to the underworld. Mexican researcher and head of the team, Sergio Gomez, stated that this discovery may serve as a guide to what may very well be the first royal tomb to be found in Teotihuacan. Deep in the tunnel there are 3 chambers, and some of them may be the final resting place of a monarch. Should this be the case, it may shed light on the largely unknown history of this civilization and its political society. At its very peak of splendor between 100 and 700 AD, Teotihuacan had a population of around 200,000 people. Quoted in El Universal, Mexican archaeologist Linda Manzanilla pointed out that Teotihuacan was governed by a council of 4 co-rulers. This might explain the absence of a main palace or the depiction of monarchs on its murals. She also added on that what Gomez may have found could be the remains of one of these ancient rulers. Teotihuacan lacks any written records, which leaves little to work with in deciphering the city's history prior to its abandonment, which is calculated to have taken place in the 7th or 8th century. Even the name Teotihuacan itself, which is the Nahuatl word for birthplace of the gods, was given centuries after the collapse by Aztecs who found the ruins and believed the site to be a sacred place that the gods used to live in. Incredible news, especially for the science community. This was all for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, this was Mexico News Network's Breaking News. I am your host, Elisa Carballo, and we'll be back next time. However, before I go, let me remind you to follow us on social networks, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. You'll find us as Mexico News Network. And don't forget, keep informed 24/7 by logging on to our website, www.mexiconewsnetwork.com. Thank you for staying with us, and we'll be back next time.
Audio Jungle.